Well, let's talk about the mummy. Hello, this is By the Bookshelf, and we will be discussing The Mummy, particularly how the 2017 version fails to live up to its predecessors. And it's got two, and it fails to live up to both of them. And really, that kind of stinks, because I grew up with the 1993 version of The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Rick O'Connell and Evie were my true OTP. They were badass. Evie is the reason I wanted to become a librarian. And then, of course, you have the 1932 version, the original Mummy, which was chilling and eerie and gets under the skin in a really weird kind of way, and it lingers too. I would definitely call the original Mummy a lingering kind of horror. The 1993 was just campy, guilty pleasure, good fun. And it was good fun for me and my grandfather. We used to watch it together. That's partly why it's such a nostalgic sort of film for me. And then, of course, we have the 2017 Mummy, which just had so many moments where it could have gone somewhere and just failed horribly. Why? It sounded like it was gonna be good. I saw interviews with the director where he's talking about this is gonna be a reinterpretation of the monster genre, and Universal has the original monsters, and it's gonna relive in them and reignite them, and people are gonna realize why they love these monsters in the early 1900s and why they're still around and they still are in our dreams and in our stories. Yeah! It's like, okay, cool, I can get behind that. And then you watch the film and it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like a reimagination or reignited, chilling, sleeping horror fest of a film. It's just a lot of CGI. And Tom Cruise. And Russell Crowe. And CGI. And it was like, what? No. How does reignited monster come out of this Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, CGI nonsense that we have? Furthermore, it's not even better than the 1993 film, the campy, guilty pleasure, good fun. Look, there were so many ways this film could have gone. We could have had a female mummy. A female mummy! A female mummy. We get that, it's hinted at in the 1993 film The Mummy, when Anaxunamun is reawakened and she goes against Evie, and it's like, yeah! And so we have these two female, one is the antagonist, female antagonist, female protagonist going up against each other, and it's super cool because, we have the foil, which is, the male mummy, and then the male protagonist. And it's like male versus male, female versus male, they're both mummies, they're both humans, how is this gonna come out? We kind of already know, because, of course the heroes are gonna win. But, you know what I mean? This could have had a female mummy going up against a female protagonist. And I feel like that would have been way more interesting to see. I think if they had just gotten rid of the male protagonist, i.e. Tom Cruise, they could have really fleshed it out. Because once you get rid of the A-list actor that everyone is kind of going to latch onto, then people have to get latched onto the story. And that's actually what made the 1932 film so good. People loved the story. I mean, the 1932 film is kind of a slow burn? Kind of? The Mummy doesn't really answer any questions we have. We have to kind of watch the gripping horror of the film to get the answers we want. That's what makes it, that's what made it so good. We could have had that for this one. And if you wanted to do it in the modern era, then yeah, okay. But, really, really give the audience that pause to be like, wait a minute. This is the modern era, but we have a mummy. That's kind of weird. How is it going to work? Wait a minute. What is going on? Make the audience work for that answer. The 1993 film doesn't make the audience work for that answer, but it's campy good fun. This one isn't campy good fun. It takes itself too seriously. but then so seriously that it can't even see its own errors. Anyway, so CGI, Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe. Honestly, this film could have been the intro to the Dark Universe by not even caring about the overarching theme of the Dark Universe. Or having snippets of it, just barely hinted at. Or maybe not even having it at all. I mean, the 1932 film is a standalone mummy film. The monsters only really start, collaborating with each other when Universal and the studios were all getting desperate and needed the money. And so they knew that if they had these monsters go up against each other or team up, people would watch it. Hello, the director for the 2017 film admits this. That was the appeal. The monsters were the appeal, and that's why the sequels had such amazing audience turnout. But that wasn't the original intention of the first films. The first sequence of films are solitary. Except for, of course, The Bride of Frankenstein. But you know what I mean. Anyway. So, why not have The Mummy be a standalone mummy film? Just really concentrate on the legend behind the mummy. On the badassery that is this female mummy. And don't get me wrong, she's pretty badass. Her powers are pretty cool. And there are so many moments where we see the mummies creepily walking. And it looks cool. But then, CGI! Tom Cruise! Russell Crowe! Ah! And then, of course, the female protagonist. Which, I get, is kind of supposed to be like the modern day Evie. But she fails so bad. And that's what really makes it annoying. She shouldn't have failed that bad. Evie didn't fail that bad, and it was 1993! Hell, female protagonist in The Mummy, the original, didn't fail that bad. When the mummy is walking towards her, you are as enraptured with her horrified face as you are with the mummy because you don't know if she's gonna live or die. Ah! I don't feel like that here. The setup, even though this mummy is all powerful, I know that Tom Cruise is gonna save the day. I know that the damsel in distress is gonna get saved. Granted, I'm gonna be frustrated with her, but she's gonna get saved, yay! The comedic relief is just comedic relief, serving kind of no purpose. And that's the thing. You see, in the 1932 film, all the characters served a purpose. Even in the 1993 film, all the characters served a purpose. Even the comedic relief. And actually, because he served a purpose and was so bad at it, that's what made it funny. He couldn't do his job well enough, and yet it was funny. He's kind of like the lazy man in all of us, But he tries. He tries. We don't get that in this film. The characters don't really feel real. They kind of feel like they're putting on airs. That they all know this is just an introductory arc for the Dark Universe. And that really sucks. We could have had a great film, y'all. We could have had a film with a female mummy, maybe even a female protagonist. We could have had a modern day, sleeping, creepy, eerie horror. Or if not, a modern day campy good fun thing. But you can't have both. And that's the thing that the 1993 film knew. It knew it wasn't going to be a creepy horror fest of the late 21st century. This one, late 20th century. Anyway, this one tries to do both. And it doesn't really work. Actually, I might even say it doesn't really try to do either. And that's kind of what sucks. Because if it had stuck to the original interpretation of the 1932 film, just maybe female mummy, female protagonist, sleeping horror, slow burn, make the audience, really work for that ending, yeah, that would have been cool. We don't see that. Instead, this is just action, CGI, Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe. And we already have enough of that. And that's the problem. The Dark Universe is trying to be what superheroes are for Marvel, what superheroes are for DC. That's not what the monsters were in the original Universal films. They weren't like that. And granted, the director for The Mummy knows that. He knows that these monsters are vulnerable, three-dimensional characters that are kind of tragic. And their tragedy is what makes them poetically beautiful to watch, because you know it's not going to end well. He knows that. He understands that. And yet, that message is just not even there. We just get CGI. I don't feel the tragedy of The Mummy when I watch this film. And I want it to. Not just because it's a woman, but because the potential was there. You know? Like, her story could have been really fleshed out. We could have felt sympathy for her. It was there. The kindlings of sympathy for the mummy were there. Burned to a crisp by the CGI. I mean, I kind of feel sympathetic for Imhotep and Anck-su-namun. They just wanted to be in love and have sex with each other. You know, like, tragic what their statuses in Egyptian society meant, that they couldn't, and that sucks. But I even feel sympathy for the campy good fun mummies. Like, come on! So, when it comes to interpretive films, reimagined masterworks of film class, I think this director, I think he had the best intentions, simply because I have seen the interviews, and he seems to know his stuff. He seems to know that these monsters are popular for their complexity, their interdimensionality, their vulnerability, their ultimate untimely tragedy, no matter what. But the message isn't there, and that makes me kind of worried. That makes me worried that all the other monster films in this dark universe are going to be nothing but CGI interlaced with Russell Crowe's face and Tom Cruise, I guess, and just be kind of shallow and not quite well thought out. Which really sucks, because again, they know what the message is for these monsters, and yet somehow they can't fit it into the film. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I hope I am. Alas, The Mummy proved me right, and I hope the next one seriously proves me wrong.
Imhotep.
That's my favorite scene, honestly. Till next time, guys. See ya.